All right, good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the MSP Success webinar series. I love how we promoted on this one of where we've got the head of marketing for the MSP marketing for Intel here on this, which we absolutely do here with Eric Townsend. And, Eric is back. I think we've been doing this as a quarterly series this year. We're actually going to keep on doing it next year. Of these webinar series, super popular, a ton of people that are on the call here today. And we're talking about 3 strategies on how to use cybersecurity in your lead generation. One bit of housekeeping for everyone on here is that I would encourage you is that if you do have any questions, I'm going to be watching the Q&A and chat here. Q&A, if you want to make sure that your question gets answered, that's the easiest way because the chat can sometimes get clogged up. But since we've got quite a few on the call here, if you want to post up in the chat, not the Q&A, where you're dialing in from today. And with that, Eric, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. And thank you, Jeff. I'm super excited. I always love, at Intel, we do a lot of marketing, right? Do a lot of different folks. And so whenever we can actually talk about lead gen, I get super hyped up. I love just actually sitting and having a conversation. But today, we're going to have a lot of conversation. I've got a little bit of an agenda here, but I do want to give a shout out. We got Adam, one of our great partners, going to speak into this. And also we've got Alicia from Dell Expert Network. There's a lot of great stuff that's going to happen today. So we've got kind of the all-star team here today. I feel like I should, but I'm excited just because there's some big things that we're all talking about, like so security, cybercrime, and then how do we weave that in to demand gen? How do we make sure we can close people? We're getting near the end of the year, but how do we make sure we can bring that in? So like I said, today we're going to a little bit on just what's happening in the SMB security space. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of conversation on what's from a B2B marketing perspective, what are we seeing? And then I'm going to kind of walk you through 3 really good demand gen things that you can integrate these things together. And like I said, being able to follow that and talk to Adam about some demand gen stuff he's doing. And then, like I said, Dell Expert Network, if you haven't accessed it yet, I know there's been a lot of conversation about it on the community, but there's a lot more things you're going to learn about it today. Quickly, Eric Townsend, I work at Intel in our US channels group. My focus is managed services. So I work with all the different partners out there. So some people I'm recognizing today, but I work with the RMM vendors. I work with the DISI vendors. I work in peer groups. Super excited just to be able to get perspective from things. So some of the 3 I'm going to show you today, in fact, I think I see one of my partners out there that's actually, this is one of his big ones. So these are things that actually are applicable for an MSP that's serving small or medium business. So when you see Intel or you see Dell, right, and you think, oh, these big, we are the MSP crew. That's what we are. We are the crew that are going to come in and make sure they give you the right information on that. But first thing I want to start with is a polling question. And what I want to do is I want to get perspective on how do you think your 2021 sales is going to end up at the end of this year? So if you've said, look, it's only a couple more weeks away, but think you're at the end of the year and you're looking back, right, 2021. Is it going to be better than 2022? Is it going to be the same, or is it going to be less? I put a don't know on there, but everyone's have an idea of where things are trending, right? Hopefully, Jeff, right? They're like, but let's. What are you thinking, Jeff? From Partners, you guys had that cool roadshow not too long ago. What are you hearing out there?
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people on the upward trend on it of doing really well this year, and it's looking like that on the results that I'm seeing. Mm-hmm. Is that right now it's looking 75-76% better than 2020. So yeah. Definitely on the upward trend.
Yeah. And Jeff, right, that kind of makes sense, right? Because the partners on here, they got access to all the toolkit and everything else.
Absolutely.
So that kind of, it's funny, I was talking to some partners this morning and probably a little bit different of a message, right? They didn't have all those tools and things accessible to them. So I assume that's cool to see. Like, wow, see that almost. That's why you're part of this community, because that's the result. That's not normal, folks. Just so you know, that's pretty darn good. So I'd have to say, Jeff, it's the best I've seen this quarter from partners. So yeah, that just makes sense.
That's great.
So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the current state of SMB security and cybercrime. And what I want to make sure we're all clear on is that, when we're going and doing marketing, there's always key data points that drive a conversation. And so I just want to make sure these are ones that are predicted for happening this year. We'll see how it ends up. They were tracking to this just, mid-year. But if you look about, these are damage costs. And why I'm I bring this up is that there are a lot of people right now that when you're doing marketing to them, there's kind of different types of buyers. There are offensive minded buyers and there are defensive minded buyers. And offensive minded buyers are going to be talking about what are the opportunities that we can go take advantage of. Defensive minded buyers are like, hey, I've only got so much budget. What can I actually, it's kind of like the protecting the fort. So when we think about doing demand gen and really messaging into a defensive minded, it can work for offensive, but defensive minded, you got to give them clear, straight facts that'll get them to start going, oh, it's something we should be looking at. So you can see all the numbers here. I'll walk you down. I'll see the 6 trillion on top, but as you walk down that 16.4 billion a day, that 11.4 million, a minute, and then $190,000 a second. A lot of our customers right in the SMB space would go like $190,000. Well, that's a second. And what I want to make sure you understand is that everyone out there is facing this issue of their security issues actually happening regularly, but we have to make sure that we communicate by numbers, but also for them to understand that a lot of the security attacks that are happening are really long-term, meaning you have someone that goes through and they'll have a breach, and nearly half of those businesses that get breached, right? So we know it's a large amount of breaches are SMB, right? But you look at that number of the people get breached, those 50% of the attacks happen, 60% of those are actually out of business, right? Within a 6-month time frame, they're out. They're like, I mean, an accountancy firm happened in Southern California. One of my partners had an accountancy firm. Great thing, they had a breach that happened to them. I've had a partner had a realtor firm that they went out of business because those breaches, when they happen and the crypto comes across, okay, this much money, this account, and they're like, do we have that much money available right now? Right? A lot of businesses are floating on a certain amount of money, and you start getting, crypto locks that are like $15,000, $20,000, $30,000, and you think, oh, they would never ask that. They don't care who you are. They're going to ask that, right? And partially too, we're even running into the part right now around insurance and actually how is insurance claims are actually coming in. So when we think about this, everyone's saying, look, when we think about our priorities from a business perspective, yeah, cloud's important. We got to make sure that we do automation, right, from the businesses, but managing security risks are huge, right? Security service, but then managing risk. And I'll tell you that when we think about budgets out there, this is just to kind of give you an idea of where things are at. So you can kind of follow lines on the left is from IDC, and we can look and we can actually see that there is a 2020 baseline. You can see 2021 where it's going, and then 2022, and you see this upward. And what I want to make sure you understand is that there's services, that's the dark blue, the light blue is software, and the green is actually hardware. What the big thing you should be looking at is that from both a software and services perspective, we're seeing an uptick. Now, just, the latest data I'm getting around hardware sales for SMB, right? That's the patch we're in. That's actually going up next year. So a lot of people are already calling that up number. This was actually looking at specifically, okay, what's the growth overall for services and for software and hardware? And we're seeing that. So as we go to next year, we're going to see a growth. We're seeing it right now. But then also, I want to make sure that when we're doing demand gen, a lot of people get caught up in, hey, we're just going to talk about security, which is great. But we also have a message, what type of security? So I just gave you about 6 or 7 examples there of there's endpoint security, there's remote management security, cloud, network, all those things. And if you look at the blue bars, right, all those are actually from dark purple is 2019, light purple is 2024. All those are growing. And specifically that remote management, those are those hybrid workers we're just going to see grow more and more. Now, the one thing that a lot of people, when they're doing marketing, they come to the point of, okay, how many products should I talk about? How much, if we look at there's a big indicator out there called willingness to pay. It's a great one you should look up. So where it's almost like if I asked Jeff, I said, Jeff, how much would you pay for a self-driving car? Jeff may say, hey, I make the big bucks. I'm willing to spend $1 million on a self-driving car. It gives me time back, right? Someone else may say, you know what? It's only $100,000 I'm going to pay. But there's a willingness to pay out there. And the great thing about this is that in our space right now, from an SMB perspective, managed services, people are willing to pay for not just one security solution, not just 2, right? So not just think a BDR, not just think of like an assessment, right? Not just think of like the data analysis. Over 50% are saying, hey, by the way, I'll 1 to 3, but then you start looking at that 34% is expecting. So a third of the customers, 4 or 5 solutions are expecting. I'll pay them for 4. They want to have that multi-layer security. So when we're doing marketing and demand gen, please don't sell yourself short. When we're talking about things today, I'm going to start giving you places and stuff to go do. And you're like, okay, well, what do I go and talk about? You don't have to talk about one thing. We want you to talk about all the things because that's what the customers are kind of expecting. Now, some of the things that when we talk about conversations and communities and demand gen, well, what do we go and really lean in on? Now, all your services should support some of these things here. So if you're like, okay, what do I going to tie into? These are all the major trends that we have in 2021. And right now, some of these are definitely being targeted in 2022. So if you're like, gosh, I need to create some demand with some customers that are in my town, that mobile security, right? Cybersecurity issues are coming up. All these ones lean in, even 5G and supporting different type of IoT devices. So this is kind of, if you ask me, like, what do we communicate about in the marketing message? That's the what. But I want to take a second because this is where a lot of people get lost when we talk about security, because it is a definite different talk track, if you want to say it. And I kind of talk about, you got to know the who, the what, and the when, right? So if we talk about the who, some people say there's these different personas out there. A lot of people say, oh, it's the CISO. And I'm like, well, that's one person. Yes. But in a lot of organizations nowadays, the CISO is not the chief technology officer. It used to be that, but now their security is so important, it's going to sit over here, right? The CTO, the person that's looking at the technology buying, it's their person. You've also got the business people in there, board of directors. And once again, in our space from an SMB, the CISO and CTO may be the same, may be different, right? You've got the IT security director, you've got the manager, what's happening out there, you've got legal, you have all these different people that are in place. So when we're doing demand gen, and I'm gonna tell you later, we're gonna go find some of these people and do conversations with them. It's not just one person. And I wanna make sure, because classically on the managed services side, we say, okay, we're gonna go and target the business owner, or we're gonna go and target one particular person and get them on board. Security is a totally different ballgame. You got to get mobile people on board, because it's, remember I said they want to buy 4 or 5 solutions, because each one of those personas have different things that are important to them. Now, part of it you have to understand, it's like, what should we be actually going and talking about, right? And that's what we talk about, kind of the journey the buyer's on, right? And also there's different tracks that these people are going through. Sometimes you look at those different personas and they may say, there's a strategy we have to put in place. We need to have a partner, right, that can actually go and deliver that on that strategy, develop that strategy. There are certain tactics. We got to make sure we're backed up. We got to make sure that's another set of, okay, what do we need to talk about? There's also a part there around, what is the business track that we're on? Are we in that part we're growing? Is it flat? Like, where are we actually at? And I just tell you, this is probably one of the biggest takeaways from today, is that when you see a lot of marketing activities you do for managed services, it's different for security. So I just want to say again, when we've done classical marketing in the past, talking about, there's this ongoing support you'll get 24/7. You can have maybe a device as service. When we talk about security, it is different, because the personas are different, the conversations are different, right? And then as far as their journey is different. And these are ones that I've got to make sure when we're looking at marketing, I wish I could have you just do one. I've talked about omnichannel marketing in the past. That was from a general managed service. We go security, different people we actually have to go to. Now, on the marketing side, right, here's where it gets even more complex. Sorry about this. The journeys that people are on, right, from a general face-to-face and from like how they're making purchase decisions. This is the buying journey that Gartner put out a while ago around general businesses, right? How they actually get, and the key takeaway, you see all the arrows. Just think about the journey is not simplistic, and it's usually 3 or 4 bits of information, contacts, recommendations they've got even before they come to you. And the reason they're coming to you is because there's some type of problem they have, right? And you got to be really clear. We've talked some passive in your conversations. Be really clear on what problem you're solving, right? Know that you're actually there, and then what's the next steps, how they contact you. But this just gives you an idea of what it looks like from the general. Now, if I told you about the digital buyer, here's what they're walking through, right? All these different ways they can be influenced. And I know there's been a lot of conversations about, well, Google AdWords, where's that fall in? Where's remarketing fall in? There's all these different things. And I tell you, on the Intel side, we look at each one of these very intently and say, the who, these are all kind of the how things are done, but who are we actually trying to actually impact this time? So if it's the CISO, great. If it's the IT director, great. Is it the owner? Great. But we have to go at them in different ways. So just know that is going to be different depending on how you actually come at them. And once again, how we're engaging them has changed. right? I mean, everyone knows this, right? Depending on where you're working at today. I love what Jeff said. Tell us where you're working at, but where you're working at, that's different for all customers. Sometimes I was talking to a customer yesterday, and we were doing actually a meeting, and half the people were in a room, in a conference room, and half were actually on a platform, right? And it was interesting because we're still doing business, but it's just done differently now. And I think when we think about engaging customers and really doing demand gen, some things I'm going to show you are face-to-face, some are digital, but in the past it was pretty much all face-to-face. Now we know there's multi-channel activities, right? It was before you would, go to a certain area. It could have been Chamber of Commerce, could have been a customer, and you present out your message. Well, now we know it's personalized, right? Even in the security space, we know there's these different people that are out there. How you get message out there, the quality of the message, even how you're able to touch people has all changed. So engagement has changed. And once again, the one thing that has not changed is that the conversations you have to have, and I frame it from a digital buyer perspective, because that's the one that you can impact by end of year, right? So we got to be thinking that. But we got to really make sure we're starting and facilitating conversations in areas to really grow that demand, right? So think about this, when you're thinking about conversations, personalized, more empathetic, valuable, and it's trustworthy information, right? Especially when you think about cybersecurity, bringing those relevant stats we had up front is really, really key. So I want to ask another question, because I think when we think about marketing and demand gen, it's kind of a muscle that we do, right? So I want to ask the question here of what percentage of your customers do you have regular security conversations with? So think of your customers out there today, right? And you look at that pie of customers, right? Is it 25% of your customers or less you have regular security conversations? Is it 25 to 50% that you're having those regular conversations? Is it 50 to 75, or is 75 to 100%? I want you to look at it, because this is where, Jeff, if you don't talk to about something, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, it really is. And I'm seeing it on here. Only about 26, 28% kind of bouncing around there are in that 75 to 100% of their customers they're talking to. The thing that I always say, and Eric, I'm sure that you see this a ton as well, is that we all assume that people know because it's what we think about all day long on anything, whether it's Intel related, whether it's technology marketing toolkit, what we're doing with everything. That's like our life, our day to day. You got to tell people repeatedly as part of it. But I'm seeing right now, and I'll share the results on it here, is that you'll see that only 56% are talking to more than half of their customers regularly. And I think that's a big mistake, especially right now.
Because Jeff, it's kind of like insurance, right? I don't know if you have insurance or not, but it's kind of like,
hopefully,
right? So you may buy insurance for your car. Cool, I've got the car insurance, but someone's like, well, do you have your house? Why do you have my house? Oh, floods. Yeah, probably gonna get that. Oh yeah, and then you start. If you have some other thing, you start adding all those things on. And that's why everyone here, it's like if you only tell them about one thing you have, you're missing those other ones. You know what I mean, Jeff? It's like, how do we, from a marketing perspective and specifically demand, I always like talking about the share wallet. How are we've got existing customers, grow the share wallet, but the ones that we don't, how do we make sure they're hearing about us?
Well, and a big missing piece, if you're not having the regular conversation, is they might hear it from someone else of those conversations. I know that is a ongoing. We just finished up our roadshow. Dell was a part of the roadshow with us, and that was an ongoing conversation. Is that's one of those ways that you can get that crack into someone, is testing against of what they're doing. If more than half are not even talking with at least half of their customers, it's a great opening for someone else to be able to come in there and do testing, audits, whatever it is, whatever different ways, pen testing, anything else, to be able to see, hey, how vulnerable is your network? And they're the ones then that are having the conversation with your customer.
And Jeff, they're going to pay for it too, right? Some of those things. I mean, that project work, those assessments, people pay for it. They told well. So. And
I realized I didn't share the results, so you guys can see the results out there.
Yeah, it's interesting,
with that,
right? I like it. This is all good stuff too. I think for people to understand this is where we're just trying to create that motion, right? So you understand what the importance is. Now, I want to jump into around about these demand gen strategies, right? And this is where there's all different types of funnels. When we think about the current set of buyers and where they're at, so You engage them, you educate them, you excite them, you nurture them, and you convert them. This is kind of a different funnel when we think about demand. And why I say this is because you may be today going and engaging a set of buyers, but you're not educating them. So you're saying, hey, I'm here. Hey, I'm good. I'm here. But they don't know what you do. They're like, oh, it's something about a MSP. What is an MSP? Sometimes you'd be amazed how many customers I run into, Jeff, that are like, that are dentists, lawyers, or people are like, I've heard of a MSP, but I don't even know what that acronym means. What's it mean? So educating them, excite them, nurture them. So let's jump into the very first one that I know people may have heard before, but I want to make sure you see how we do this. So right now, engaging new security customers through online communities. Now, what's happening is that if you don't know this already, just jump on if you have LinkedIn, hopefully you have that. Go look on LinkedIn and type in the word security, do a search, and you'll see all the feeds that are actually talking about that, right? The big one right now is the FBI. You haven't heard about that? They got hacked, right? So the FBI, that's the latest one right now. That's a great one to go look at. It's crazy, Jeff. I think the FBI got hacked, and I'm like, holy mackerel, that's crazy. So this is where in communities, we all have to go through and have a conversation and engage buyers. There now many sophistication that actually happens on LinkedIn, but I would say that you can do that in other communities you're a part of. And these are ones that you're participating in. So in the past, I thought about you creating your own communities. That's not the case here. We're wanting you to go to existing communities out there. And there's a lot of different security ones out there. Entrepreneur Magazine actually has one. There's various ones out there that you can go and engage on. So first thing is you got to go through and say, I need to go and engage new customers through communities. Some people say, well, how do I do that? So this is where when you think about going to a community online, and that's where I'm going to have you go first. You can go face-to-face too. I want to make sure you know that. But what is the strategy of creating demand? And I call it marketing, but demand you can do. So there's content stuff that you can have there, right? You can have walled content that you can actually engage them in. You can do different ways to connect with them. You can have specific events. So even though you're in that community, you can actually have your own events, whether it's an online event or a face-to-face event. Perks you put them in about, hey, by the way, we've got a free assessment for everyone in this community here. I want to make sure I give you this opportunity to engage with us, training, swag, all those things. This is what I want to make sure you understand is that when you're engaging a community, it's kind of like a give and take, right? You're in the community, what can I give? And then there'll be some things that come back, but it's not always about going and doing the lead part of this. So setting up a strategy with an online community, and this is where some of this may be awkward. You haven't done this before. LinkedIn, I would tell you if someone says, hey, what am I going to do? I'm going to say LinkedIn. Another strategy is a big one. So first we got about as far as just looking and saying, okay, how am I going to go in communities? Some people are like, hey, that's too broad. That's a lot, but I want to, what's more of a targeted one? So this is where, I know we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but I'm going to kind of go a little bit deeper today on account-based marketing. So what this one involves is that you're going to look at your set of customers that you've had. And when I say had, meaning these are the people that you maybe have left your patch, right? They're no longer there. How you do this, look in your PSA, you have a list of all of your customers, right? Ones that you have maybe don't have on an agreement today. I would look at them and see, okay, why did they actually, what was the last service ticket that they actually, what happened with them? And what we want to do is start looking at, let's really, what accounts can we go at specifically around an offering that we have? So once again, this could be an end of year security assessment that we can actually do for your company. Going into 2022, what can we actually help and make sure you're secure for the new year, right? So there's the traditional marketing ways, and you know how this is, right? You get people on a website, they fill out forms, and they come through. ABM is actually the opposite. We're saying, how do we make sure that we're taking relationships we may have had, but making them deeper, right? Identifying specific companies to go real deep with. And on the ABM side, think of this as that there's kind of two different ways. And I laid out from an inbound marketing perspective and account-based marketing. When we look at like general marketing, we're looking at it from a focused perspective as there's marketing as industries. When we do ABM, we're looking at an account level activity. So this is where really being focused and knowing, okay, what type of accounts are we gonna actually go after? When you think about inbound marketing, you're looking at success, you're just saying, what's the quantity of leads we're getting in? So generally you do marketing, right? It's like, okay, we've talked in the past, more leads, right? More leads. When we look at account-based, we're saying, what's the quality of the target that we're talking with, right? We've already have kind of a persona or a profile of who we're going to. What's the quality of that? When you're saying inbound marketing, that's new business. Account-based is saying land and expand. How do I actually get to that customer and then expand that business? And once again, it's account-based marketing is more about, we said security and cyber insurance, cyber protection, all these ones. you're going to really sit and look and say, okay, in that specific industry, the industry, I'm like, what is the industries in your area where there's been breaches that have actually happened? Which ones we focus? I'm not just saying only a retail but you're seeing everywhere. But we really got to get focused on what that profile is compared to if I was doing inbound marketing just around persona. So account-based marketing is going to be, think of the community one as a really broad net to go and get customers. That's a broad one. And if you're like, Eric, which communities I go to? Literally, I like to make it more local. So, a lot of Chamber of Commerce have communities already set up you can be a part of. LinkedIn is one you can do, but you could do general there. When you come here and you're looking at account-based marketing, we're gonna get really specific, really narrow. We're looking quality. So maybe in the next 4 or 5 weeks, right, what we have left, you're probably going to focus on maybe 4 or 5 accounts that you can go out. And I would recommend those ones that are not existing accounts you already have. You can do that, but I really say, let's look back at the PSA and see what we have. Now, I just want to make sure it's clear. You can do account-based marketing at a much broader level. I will just tell you the ROI is less. So a lot of people, when they look at account-based marketing, like, okay, there's this one-to-one that's got some activities with it. There's the one-to-few, and then there's the one-to-many. I always say I love looking at account-based marketing from the one-to-one because the ROI is much higher. Once you start going down, you can see all the activities you can go do, and the toolkit can actually help you with a lot of these things here. But I want to make sure you know that in this context around cybersecurity, in that you really want to go more narrow, because I'm not looking for an offensive, defensive-minded person, account. I may say I want to go defensive-minded, and here are the 3 or 4, 5 accounts we know we've had in the past, and they have that kind of persona. Last one, I'll give you the third one. That's a pretty important one, is selling your security solutions via the social selling process. I love talking about social selling. It's definitely been super effective for partners that I've been working with around growing the business from a new perspective. So there's many different ways. And when I talk about social selling, a lot of people think, okay, it's just posting up on Facebook or posting in LinkedIn. Different conversation here, right? You can actually see it's not only social selling is about communicating, engaging on conversations, but also listening, right? It's also looking at your competitors, seeing what they're doing out in the marketplace, looking at the contents being built, all these different pieces that kind of come together. So I want to make sure we're talking about social selling. This is a part where you can actually get kind of a bigger net, but these are to a lot of new customers. And a lot of people ask me, like, okay, well, when we talk about social selling, and I could literally sit here for probably 2 hours and just talk about it, there are key parts when you go in social selling. It's not just, like I said, not just your posting, right? But like one, especially in this case of cybersecurity, you think about that data we had up front, right? All data points. What data points are going to actually resonate with which people? How do we make sure that when we're going and target those people, maybe there's referrals that are involved, and maybe existing customers I'm already with. When I'm actually going and I'm going out into communities, or I'm going out in different areas, and I'm posting, or I'm actually responding back in community, or even giving resources, how will our approach be different? And then once I get people involved, right, I get them interested, how is my outreach going to impact them? How am I going to actually go through? And when I'm thinking about just my communication, what is our messaging? What is our voice that we have? And then there's the block and tackling of generically, how do we get people interested? So this is probably, I would tell you, the big game changer. If you're like, gosh, I'm not, maybe your sales organization, you don't actually have people that do a lot in social selling. There's a lot of young people coming in that this is what they do all day, every day. They have their phone and they're social selling to their friends. Not hard to bring that on, right? And when we think about social selling, I want to make sure that people say, well, I only have so much time. LinkedIn is an easy one, right? A lot of communities already existing there, right? There's already a lot of content that's there. You can actually, I was talking to a partner earlier this week about, how do we engage people digitally? And we don't have to make a lot of the content. There's already content out there for you. So when people are sharing things, if you like something, if you see something come across, you can actually grab that and put your own spin on it, right? And really get people to engage. And when you see a content come across, if it's something you really like, pull that and figure, okay, where else can I actually, so if it's on LinkedIn, is there other communities you're a part of that you can actually post it there? So that's kind of the 3 big ones. Again, if you think about community, account-based marketing, and social selling, those are the 3 I'd give you. But I want to take a couple minutes to kind of dive a little deeper with Adam. Adam, how you doing, bud? Good to see you.
Good to see you again, Eric.
Yeah, man. And where are you at today? Are you in your North Carolina today? Where are you at?
Yeah, man. I'm working at a house. Working from home in North Carolina.
Like it. Okay, so for people who don't know you, right? Tell us about your company, what you do.
Yeah, I did. Charlotte-based managed service provider. We've been in town here for well over 20 years. I've been with the company for 16 myself.
Wow.
Grown from 2 to 10 employees. Originally, we were just break fix and switched to managed services, and now at 80, covering across North and South Carolina. We really have all verticals, but focus mainly in the healthcare legal landscape is where we found most of our success.
Yeah.
We are obviously a member of Dell Expert Network and love it. Exclamation point. You didn't have to pay me for that, by the way. And also love my Intel Partner Alliance as well.
Yeah. Cool. And so, Adam, tell me about your customer conversations you're having right now. If you look about, how do you do them? How's it all work?
Look, pre-COVID, which, we don't, it's a touchy subject, is, the conversations were, IT driven. They were, technically switches, routers, printers, computers, a lot the traditional stuff that you've done through the years. When this switched to remote, we went heavy into a QBR process, and almost immediately the landscape switched to a heavy security conversation. I mean, we would stop on those slides for a whole lot longer period of time. And that it almost we have revamped our decks to be heavy on security. We'll have one tab where we'll fit everything in on the IT landscape, but then the rest of it's super security. Files my backup file system. What protections do I have enabled to hurt? What can I add more? And before I would have to get my sales hat on and my tie tightened up real tight to do the sales side, the security side. But now I don't have to sell it. They're asking me to recommend things to them, and so that's really helped me out on the on the QBR side and meeting with them, as well as the customer being well informed just by being in their own communities, like you mentioned earlier.
What, and tell me about, this is a big thing. We were actually having this conversation just earlier today about this around cybersecurity insurance offering. So tell me about that, because this is big, and I don't think when you think about the offering that partners pick out, they always think of hey, I'm going to go and just do BDRs. Tell us about this cybersecurity insurance offering.
Yeah, this is all real world examples. So if you don't mind, I'll just use that.
Yeah.
All my VIPs kept emailing me these cybersecurity security forms. They're like, hey, can you fill this out for me? I'm like, this is money going out the door. That's what we're all here to do. We're here to make money. And so we partnered up with an insurance company. Each state's got their own laws. I'm not in insurance. I can't speak to it.
Right.
But finding somebody that's going to have a small business that just doesn't know how to get through it. There's a ton of questions in there that more than likely they're not going to have the tools in place to say yeah. And so that's a sellable event right there, just right out of the gate. And that's what really has vamped us up. They just send them to us saying, yeah, this client just doesn't have A, B, and C, and we're like, okay, well, this is your package. I've already got it built. Fill in the customer name and the price, and the rest is easy.
Yeah. And Adam, one thing let's add on that, right? It's interesting because a lot, as you know, and when people are going to get insurance nowadays, there's also some steps they have to be able to get that insurance. Some assessments, exactly right. Things like that, right? So that's
what I'm talking about.
Project work with that, right?
It's our, I don't, again, all I got to do is sit here at my desk and fill out the paperwork and let my project team know that you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it is that easy. I'm making it sound easy. It is that easy.
Yeah. So Adam, right? I originally, it was funny, about probably 4 years ago, I had a partner of mine in Southern California that he literally just did assessments and insurance work. He made $1 million that year, not selling and doing. He was just helping them do this insurance. Now, the one thing I'll tell people about this, it's interesting, Adam, and you may run this, but it's not as easy to get cybersecurity insurance nowadays compared to what's a couple of years ago.
Lord, no. And you're right. It's not easy. They don't, and it's always in a different offer. You've got your errors and omissions. Again, I'm not insurance, but the ransomware is, as soon as you ask that, they're leaning in and perking up. It's like, okay, well, there's another form you got to fill out. Yeah. And for most of the folks that are probably attending this meeting, that should resonate, because you're already having a security offering that you have. And if you don't have a package bundled for that, you should go ahead and spend the time to do it, because it's a reoccurring revenue opportunity that we've bundled in. For example, our managed services offering that we've had, we'd always have a checkbox that said, okay, if you want managed security, here you go. Well, now it's our managed services and your mandatory managed security, because we're at the point where, like, if you don't have it, you're putting us at risk.
Amen.
Because it's really difficult for an MSP to have cyber insurance. I mean, they're they're not being they're not being kind when you have that conversation. And then we get into that good, better, best category where, okay, we got managed security, but we recommend this product if you're in healthcare, and this product if you're in legal.
I love it. I love it, Adam. So tell me about your lead gen strategy. How has it been? You know, kind of give me that before and then where it is now, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, we traditionally had a lot of, our marketing approach was many years ago was word of mouth. Being in Charlotte, there was a lot of, who, but again, it's specific to the Charlotte area is what I can speak to. It's grown a lot. So there's a lot of newcomers in the area, a lot of new businesses. So we've had to re-strategize on the marketing side. And so, what we've done is, as you mentioned on the managed security packages, is we've tailored our approach on our outbound or social media blogs and mailers to all really be in sync with each other and on topic. So one day we're not just shooting off information about, how to adjust this particular product or work on an iPhone. It's really one topic is about phishing, and the other topic is about how a backup helps you out if you get attacked. So it's all in line and all on topic. And that has really helped us out as we've gone through all these different channels on the marketing side.
It's cool. And then when you're seeing trends out there, you look out a little bit into that crystal ball. I mean, what are you seeing out there?
We're there's a lot of companies out there that we do business with that embrace the cloud, and other companies that are just old businesses that are used to the handshake and likes to see that server humming in the closet. We're agnostic on that, but we're really trying to push our folks to the cloud as much as possible. And to do that, we don't just pop a server online and say, have at it. And, for all your remote employees, it's wide open. Yeah, sure. China and Russia could come in too. We're not paying attention. No, we're saying, by the way, it needs to be completely locked down. And if you're hiring sales engineers or people across the country, which we are seeing, with the employment space here in Charlotte, it's a struggle. And so they're hiring outside of the region because they're a remote workplace. And when you have that, you've got bring your own desktop or you're shipping equipment to them. We don't want to just trust any old computer that they picked up from their, friend or, their significant other. We want to have a zero trust environment. So we know what they're bringing on board, and it checks boxes before they're allowed to connect to the network. And that right there allows us to also, again, pivot back to our service offering, the managed security.
And then your marketing plans you have coming up for 2022. What are you going to do there? What's going to happen?
We are really focusing on our verticals again. We're really going to start really focusing on a lot more in the legal landscape. Charlotte's got a big financial as well. And I think that it comes to knowing your area. I think, going back to a lot of your previous slides, when you know the area and know what you're doing or who's the big businesses in the area, there's typically offshoots. So with Charlotte, there's a lot of banking, there's a lot of financials that spin-offs from that. And so knowing those targets, that allows us to reach the right businesses that are in town, that are somebody that we support, that we can help.
Cool. Now Adam, I'm gonna come back to you. People put some questions in, but I do want to make sure people, you've got access to a phenomenal resource, and we have Alicia here from Dell Expert Network, and I want to get people right now. I was talking to a partner this morning that losing a person on our team, and he's like, I just need people to help me. Do you know anyone? Right. So in this case, Alicia, tell us about Dell Expert Network. When people say need help, how do you guys step in?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to start by saying thanks to Eric and Adam for kind of kicking me off here. I won't get too into the weeds too much for the folks that are on the call. I want to save plenty of time for question and answer at the end. But as Adam was talking about, he is one of our elite members of Dell Expert Network and has been for a few years now. So just want to take everyone through the program really quickly, see how it can potentially help your MSP. Eric, if you want to kick us off in the presentation. One caveat, I guess, before we jump in, I'll take a step back, is that, and I just saw a question come in. What if you're already a Dell Premier partner? You beat me to it, Coleman. I was just getting there. So this is not going to fit with every single model of MSP. So if you're already a Dell Premier partner, unfortunately, you can't be in both programs at the same time. So our Dell Premier kind of track is for value-added resellers that want to be a registered Dell reseller. So if your business model is to buy hardware equipment from Dell and resell it to your end users, then the Premier site is going to be where your business model fits in. But what we realized a few years ago when doing some focus groups with MSPs is that that's not the business model of all MSPs. And, if you're an MSP who is not buying and reselling that hardware, but you are recommending your small business end users purchase Dell hardware, you want to feel value and you want to feel like you're getting benefits and rewards because, you're not a single small business owner that's purchasing a couple desktops every year. You have influence over, like Adam said, 80 small businesses. So, when we get one MSP who's recommending Dell hardware, we're getting 80 end users essentially. So we kind of developed this program around that specific MSP business model, the MSP that's recommending Dell hardware to their end users, but they're not buying and reselling that hardware. So Eric, we can go ahead and jump in, and I'm going to just quickly cover the benefits of what the program are. There's 5 main benefits of the program. And Jeff, I don't know if the registration for demo day is up yet, but I will be digging more into this demo day next month with this team to give more in-depth actual trials so you guys can jump into some of the tools we offer and get a more in-depth view. But the first benefit of the program is, again, going back to those focus groups that I was talking about before, was the number one feedback that we got out of the focus groups was, what is most important when you're working with a hardware vendor? And it's like, when I have problems, when I'm, especially with the supply chain right now, I need one person to go to talk to that's, preferably US based and knows my business, knows my end users, that can help us out. So that's what you get day one in the program, is a dedicated account manager. Adams is based in Nashville, Tennessee. We also have account managers based out of Round Rock, Texas. So they're really going to be your biggest resource in this program because they can help you navigate the rest of the resources for your business to see which ones, mesh with your business model and which ones you can utilize for your end users. But that's really the main feedback that came out of those focus groups was, the importance of having that dedicated contact at Dell to interface for your orders. Moving on to the second, you kind of get 2 in 1 here. So you get access to our Dell Tech Direct tool and our Dell Live Optics tool. This is where I was going back to demo day. If you guys will be joining that, I will actually jump into these tools, give you a live kind of look at those so that you can see, what is Dell Tech Direct? Well, I'll give you a quick synopsis, but it's basically a tool where you can go in and self-log support tickets on behalf of your end users without ever having to talk to our pro support team. So it just saves your techs time. If they've already diagnosed the problem, they know what the issue is, they can go in there, submit a ticket. They can actually self-dispatch parts to that end user under the active warranty that's on the system, under the service tag. And you don't have to talk to anyone. It saves your tech time. It saves you time. We'll get into that again a little later. You also have access to a tool called Dell Live Optics. That tool is a data collection and analytics tool that you essentially load onto your customer's environment when you're sizing for a new project, buying hardware for them. So it kind of tells you how their environment is running. Are there any bottlenecks? If so, what are they? If you're sizing for storage needs for an upcoming server purchase, if you're sizing for new switches for the environment, that is something that is free to use in the program. Again, we'll get into that live demo a little bit later. But moving on to the next one is our member portal. So as you can see there, it's kind of a single pane of glass to see all of the benefits in your account. It also shows you the tier that you're in. So Another question I get asked a lot, is there any minimums or for the program quarterly or yearly? Is there any cost to joining the program? And the answer to that is no. So, from 0 to 10K a year in end user sales, you're considered an Advantage member. Once you hit that 10K threshold, you move into the premium version. And then, after $100,000, you get into an elite version, and then you get a cool vest like this. So if you need any more encouragement, the vest is all I have. I'm kidding, but we do have a lot of benefits once you hit that elite level, access to some free events. You get quarterly webinars with our product team to see what's new and up and coming with Dell. You get the CompTIA iSal membership, which is about $800 a year, complimentary for every elite member. So again, access to that portal. Eric, if you want to take us to the next slide, this is just kind of a snapshot of a lot of thought leadership content that we have in that portal. So you can have access to this. You can give your techs a login so they can go in, download any white papers or one pagers, any technical documents that they're interested in terms of Dell products, Intel products. All of our partner companies are in there. And it's something that we're adding to every month. So always adding new white papers that we're developing with partners, just like the security landscape. Dell's hardware and software landscaping is changing all the time. So it's not like we just loaded these in here 3 years ago and said, this information is static. This is all we've got. So it's something that we're, continually upgrading and adding to. The next benefit's probably a favorite of the MSPs in our program, because who doesn't love money, right? So again, going back to, you want to feel rewarded and like you're being recognized for those referrals that you're giving to Dell. How we do that is we give you a base 3% in rewards on anything those end users of yours purchase. You can earn up to $5,000 a quarter. There's actually a bonus opportunity right now. If those end users use our leasing options, you get a bonus 2% back. So you're earning 5% back on all of those end user orders. So, we do have, especially with our elite members, that are capping out at $20,000 a year in rewards. They're using that for their own internal IT upgrades. They're using that for door openers for potential clients for their upgrades. They're using it right now. A lot of customers are using it for Christmas gifts. So it can be used for anything on the Dell site that you'd like to see. The last benefit is with our Dell Financial Services offering. So again, going back to the leasing, not only do you get the 2% bonus, but you also get this benefit, which allows you to send Dell your statement of work, and we add that into your end user's lease. So they can not only finance their hardware purchase, they can also finance your services, and Dell pays you in full off the top. And then that end user pays Dell back over whatever lease term that they've chosen for their hardware. And you get paid after that equipment ships. So that's something that if you are interested, once you get those quotes together, you'll be able to talk to your account manager. You can send them your statement of work, and we can include that in the lease proposal to your customer. You'll not only get paid upfront in full, but you'll also get that bonus 2% back in rewards. So the last benefit I wanted to call out is specifically for members here. You can follow the big green arrows. We do a monthly giveaway with these folks. So anyone who has the marketing dashboard login, you'll see a big banner there. Make sure to just click on that. If you're eligible to join Dell Expert Network, you'll be entered and win into a monthly drawing, and you enter to win once and you're in the drawing every month. So no need to hit that every month. If you've already entered, you're already on my list. But if you're not entered yet, make sure to hit that and I'll get your name in the bucket. So lastly, just wanted to throw my contact information up here on the screen. Please reach out to me directly if you want to join the program. If you want, I know kind of did a brief introduction at the beginning of the different MSP business models that are for the Dell Premier side or for Dell Expert Network. I know it's not as cut and dry as what I make it. For time's sake, I do have to, keep it pretty brief, but I'd love to have an in-depth conversation about your MSP business model, what current relationship you have with Dell, whether that's good or a bad relationship. Those are conversations I have all the time with customers, and all I ask is that people give me a chance to, explain the program and get you connected with one of our account managers and see if it works for you. If it doesn't, no harm, no foul. But I'd love to have the opportunity to have the conversation with you and get you enrolled and see if we can get some sales going for the both of us. So Eric, I'll send it back over to you to close up and then open us for Q&A.
Yeah, that sounds good.
And I'll mention as part of that, just as a big pitch of where there is no trick to any of that, of where if you are one of our members on the dashboard, we've given away, or Dell has given away, over $10,000 this year alone. And I'm pretty sure on it of where we're doing something similar to that for 2022. So, you've got it. Make sure that you get signed up, really giving back to the community and to our community specifically for that of going there. So make sure if you haven't done that already, get signed up.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and as we go, just a couple of resources. I think most people, you've got all the activities you've got at Den. I'll just throw on the Intel side, or Intel Partner Alliance, Intel.com Partner Alliance partner program. That basically adds to those incentives you're getting, right? So think of like that Den rebate get back on the Intel side. You're actually going to get that for those latitudes and optiplexes. So we've got great things there. Also, side note, we've also got some marketing content and marketing studio at Intel.com. And just a lot of great things that we actually, we talk about some really good demand gen activities, as far as about all the resources now at Den, how do you lean in there? And then just making sure you get access to content. So with that, Rachel, I want to ask you, what's coming across from a content or questions perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a couple of questions I want to get to here. Eric, I'm going to give you the first one. First is, you mentioned that in the new security solution environment, there's a lot of personas that we're talking to. We know we need a separate solution for the security offering. Do you want a security solution that appeases all of those personas, or do you want to make it unique?
So it's funny, the solution is probably going to, so it's multi-layered, right? So we talk about it's got hardware, software, services. So it's kind of the same solution, but it comes from kind of different angles. Mm-hmm. So meaning like when we're looking at that solution, if I was looking at the CISO, it's kind of like, hey, this is the very technical piece that's going to stop all these threats. If I'm thinking about from the persona of maybe like an IT director, they're going to be like, or, the business owner, they're about the business side of it. How much money is this going to avoid now? So I would say you're maybe not changing the offering. I hate when partners go through and they have like 10 different versions of what they're offering. It's like, get a simplified offer, but then you're messaging it differently depending on who you're actually speaking to. It's, like I said, from an owner perspective, they're going to be more business oriented, the business metrics. When you're more the technical folks, are going to say, what is the unique technology that's coming in?
Awesome. Alicia, I'm going to throw a question your way. I think it's very implied for all of us, but what is the cost for the Dell Expert Network to join?
Totally free, again, to join, to remain in, but as your customers spend more money, you get more benefits. So we do reward you for your customers buying more, but no minimum to join.
Awesome. Thank you. And our last question, Adam, I'm going to throw over to you. So you mentioned that in your marketing, and especially for next year, you're focusing from a content standpoint on a consistent message or theme for a period of time. And talk to us a little bit about that, about how that benefits your customer.
Certainly, the way we visualize this is when a customer or a potential lead receives this message, it's on topic, and when they see that message again, it resonates. It's something in the psyche of the mind. So they realize that the previous message was security. Our next message is security. Our next message is backup, and they're all in line with each other. So it's building that idea that, hey, I might need to take care of this, number one, and number two is this company knows what they're talking about because they've got a lot more information than I even knew. And so that right there allows us to really reach them in a different manner rather than just blast them in a different traditional ways. We're kind of tapping into to an area where we're grabbing their attention just because we're staying on topic.
Awesome. And from a content standpoint, staying on top and staying flush with content can be a challenge, especially in our busy lives. Where do you recommend that people get their content? Original content pulled from, Eric just mentioned some partner marketing studio. Where do you guys look for content?
We are really great. Just Eric touched on LinkedIn a lot. There's, you can get lost in a rabbit hole in there real quick. And so we're pulling a lot of information from there. We have partnerships with other vendors that help us along the way. Dell has some marketing material that we pull, as well as Intel. And, nobody said you couldn't, piece them all together to create your own. And that's really, at the end of the day, what the goal is, because we all want to succeed. Is what we're out here to do. And so pulling from those multiple layers is what we've been successful at. We partner with a lot of different folks. We even have a marketing company we work with that helps us out in generating unique content as well. If we have like our Buyer-centric package that I mentioned earlier, we'd have to create that ourselves. So we bringing all that together is hopefully that gave you the answer you're looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're running close on time, but before we pass it off to Jeff, I just wanted to ask first, thank everybody. Thank you for your time, and pass it off to you, Eric. Any closing words?
No, yeah, just Adam talked about this, Lucia talked about this. I think for everyone here, it's taking that first step on the stuff we've talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Should I, that Dell experience thing is good. Well, maybe you've got Alicia's address, email address right here. Just email her right now, right? He's like, gosh, maybe I should do like all the stuff that Adam talked about. That thing, he's like, should I find an insurance agency to work with? He took that step, and I would have been asking how much money he's making now, but he did that. So I'd say for everyone here, take that next step. You have the tools, the toolkit, you have all this stuff here, but taking the next step is really going to help you kind of grow, not just now, but looking in the future.
Yeah, now, I'll add on to that also as I'm wrapping it up, is that, Eric's content today, and you guys all are going to get PDFs of the slides here. I know that was promised in the marketing. We always do that. Eric's generous to share what he's got here with all this information. There's a ton of that you can create content out of. Probably 15, 20 of those slides are content generators. Maybe not the marketing ones when you're trying to sell security of it up there. You can do a different content around that. But all that around the different content that's already pulled together, I'm sure you've got a ton of it at the marketingstudio.intel.com. Here at Technology Marketing Toolkit, you got a ton of things there for our members of being able to pull from. We can even do a lot of that, and we do a lot of it in our done for you services ourselves for it to be able to just have that content side of it. So a lot of places you don't have to go and source it all your own with that. So, I want to reiterate with it of reaching out to Alicia. If you are on the dashboard, if you're a member, if you've ever purchased anything from Technology Marketing Toolkit, you've got a dashboard membership there right on it. I see it on my other screen here that Dell's giving away $12,000. Just click on that, register, and you're registered to win every single month of $1,000 we're giving away every single month. And with that, I will mention Alicia gave a little bit of a pre-pitch for it. We've got MSP Demo Day coming December 8th. We have not started promoting it out, so watch your email. Everyone that's on here, you're going to get an email from MSP Success Magazine around that. We're going to have over 20 demos, MSP-specific vendors, one day, one place of being able to go to, one registration, including Dell and the Dell Expert Network. And Alicia's going to go through a full in-depth of walking you through everything on that. So make sure that you get registered for that once we start getting that promoted out. Now, with that, I want to thank you guys too, of Eric, Alicia, and Rachel. You've been with us all year long with this as we're hitting Thanksgiving here, just a time of giving thanks with that, and look forward to more of our great webinars with you as we continue into 2022 as well. With that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. Thanks, everyone, and see you on the next one. See you at Demo Day.
Thanks, Adam.